and I unfortunately missed Ellie's camp, which was probably just before this, and I couldn't go straight to the Sprung house without seeing Grandma Rubin. And since all the kids wanted to hear stories from me and from Mommy about when they were little kids, I thought the best treat we could give them is Grandma Rubin telling some stories about where she was from and what happened when she was a little girl. So go ahead, Grandma.
We had our own house in Europe. So we had business. We had 3 stores. One store we had, when they married off a son or a daughter, they used to buy by us like Hassenekleider. You know, how should I explain that?
Wedding clothes.
Wedding clothes. Then in one store we had yard goods for Gentile people, all kind of. Then we had a variety of merchandise. My father used to go 3 times a year to Vienna. He used to send her merchandise. He was there for a month. And then if Friday was market by us, we used to take out and sell merchandise. When I was a kid, 8 years old, they took me to markets. I got up 1 o'clock at night, and we were, the next morning, we were in the markets. And then we displayed the merchandise, we used to sell it. And then,
Which city were the stores in, Grandma?
I came from Cochin, Austria. Austria. I came from Cochin.
Yes, this Poland.
Well,
Isn't it Poland now?
yeah, now it's Poland, but used to be Austria. You know, the mayor used to be from Vienna. The Kaiser, you know, they called the Kaiser. He was in Vienna.
And when you had...
That's Galicia too.
And when they had merchandise on Friday, what kind of merchandise did you sell?
We had everything. We had all kinds of... We had
General merchandise.
a general merchandise.
Hold on, we have someone else here. Who is that? Who is that?
Grandma's telling the stories of way back when.
Was Milton Sprung there, Grandma?
No, Milton Sprung wasn't there.
So how come he's telling us stories?
I'm not telling any story. Grandma's telling the
Oh,
stories.
okay. So don't interrupt.
I had 7 brothers. She mentioned their name.
Yeah.
But Leibisch, Benny, Chaim, Morter, Harish, Mercher, Nuchem. You got all the 7?
Yeah.
I think so.
They also used to, but 3 was in America.
And how many sisters?
No sister.
So you were the princess.
Yeah, sure, you voice like a horse. But anyway, I was good for business, so used to put me in, and I used to help them all the time. And then I told you about the markets. And then Monday was another market not far from us, so we used to go there also to sell merchandise. Wednesday we went somewhere else to sell. Thursday somewhere else.
How far was that a trip, and how did you get there?
Well, we went with the horse wagon, you know.
What year was that about?
I was 8 years old at that time.
You were 18?
8 years old.
8 years
You were 8 years old.
Oh, that time when they took me a market.
So it was a few years ago.
That's over 80 years ago.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But you know, we all worked for ourselves, you know. My brothers used to get up in the morning and they went to shoot to Dublin first. You know what I mean? After Saturday, they get up in the morning and then they went to Sedrum first, and then they went to shul to Dublin. Ausnehmers, you know, between line, they came home. I gave them a cookie, whatever, coffee. They went back to shul. And they did Shabbos. You know, I can't tell you somebody.
I know. So tell me, you said you used to travel all through Europe. What countries did you go as a little girl when you were selling?
Well, I was older that time. My father was in America. When he was one of the oldest sons got married. He wrote my father to Vienna a letter that he's getting married. So my father went to the wedding to America from Vienna. He sent my mother a letter from Antwerpen in Belgium.
And how old were you then?
I don't remember to tell you you the truth.
Okay.
You know? So my mother was crying. So I sat down on a little stool. I was crying too, because my mother was crying, I was crying. And then the war started, and he couldn't come back. You know, 1914. This was in 1914.
Mm-hmm.
The war started, and he couldn't come back. So we had our own house. Then the war started, so my grandfather, you see the picture,
Mm-hmm.
he went to a different town, Vluchten, to go away. He came to my mother, she should go with him, with the family. I had that time 3 brothers already in America. So my mother says, I can go. How could I leave everything? You know, I have a house, I have stores. How could I leave and just go? So he didn't go. In 1916, there was a fire, you know, from the bombs, in the war, during the war.
First World War.
The First World War.
Mm-hmm.
If we got burned the whole house, if we remained with a very big barrage, you know, a hill with ashes, you know, everything went. The stores was destroyed, everything was destroyed. We remained with ashes. We remained with $28. We had it in the stove. Otherwise, everything went. My grandfather was here, my father's father. My father was the only child, and he was crying. I went over to him and I took him around, I kissed him. I said, Zaida, why are you crying? He says, look, I worked all my years. Look what I remain with ashes. I have one son, he's my Yam, you know, an American. I said, don't cry, Grandpa. Wherever we're going to go, you're going to go with us. We will not leave you. And that's how it was. And
that's how everyone went to America?
No. Then we were home. We built up a store.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was working with partners on one side, and I was older already, and I was partners, and we made some money, and we opened up a store. In 1920, my grandfather had died, so we came to America, and we sold the store.
And where Grandpa Rubin was also from the same town, no?
Yeah, sure.
So when did you first meet him?
My husband, we were neighbors.
Uh-huh.
We were neighbors, and we got engaged. 1918 we got engaged.
Uh-huh.
And we got married in 1921.
That's a long engagement.
I didn't want to get married because my father was in this country.
Uh-huh.
So I wanted to come here and get married, but my father should be to the wedding. I was the only good girl.
So what happened?
So my husband came out. I was in the army over 4 years. My husband was in the army. Station in Przemysl, also in Galicia.
That's where Grandpa Sprung comes from.
Yeah.
And which army was that? Which army?
In the Austrian.
The Austrian army.
The Austrian army.
Uh-huh.
And then he came to this country and we got married here.
Mm-hmm.
We lived in, should I tell him where I lived too?
Sure.
We lived in Columbus Street. We had 2 rooms. We paid $8.50 rent.
For a month?
For a month. In the hall, we had 2 rooms. One room didn't have, the bedroom didn't have a window. And we had a mentala. We didn't have no electric lights, nothing.
Yes.
You know, here, in this country,
Right.
Columbus Street. And we were happy. Then a year later, my son was born. First son, Jack.
Jack.
3 years later, then I had an apartment in Garrick Street, 52 Garrick Street. I had an apartment already, 3 rooms. My husband was working, 3 rooms, electric light, first floor up front. And we paid that time, I think, $30 a month.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of money.
Yeah, my husband made a good living.
What was Grandpa doing then? What kind of work was Grandpa doing?
Cleaning and dyeing. And the cleaning and dyeing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he was a benzene cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
A benzene cleaner.
Touched up the clothes.
No,
Spotted.
no spotted. Cleaner, he cleaned.
Yeah. the spots in the suits and the clothing?
Whatever. He was, then they didn't like the job, so the business agent came and gave him in Yonkers a job. In that time, we had a helper under him, and he was working with benzene. So it was before Easter, before Pesach. So he was ready to go home. So he sees that the helper is burning. You know? So he jumped in with the benzene guy, in benzene, and he took him out. And he got burned.
Really?
30-degree burn. And I had a baby. Miriam was 4 weeks old. My Miriam was 4 weeks old, and he worked in Mount Vernon. My older brother, Leibish, came. You know, the man came and he told me that my husband is in the hospital. He's burned. He knew me, but he was talking to somebody else, he thought. So I stretched out, you know, like a hallish, you know. And he was murdered. My brother came, my older brother, Irish, and he took me to Mount Vernon, to the hospital. I was in the Toit Street.
Did he save the man? Did he save that man?
The boat was burned. They were pronounced dead.
Both of them?
Both of them. So I went to the boss and I told him he should put right away a noise for them. So he did. And then it was a Dr. Ezrick in Toit Street. You know, in Mount Vernon. I went to him and I begged him. The office was full. And I begged him to come to see how he got the accident. He says yes. And I begged him to go and see the two men. He says he cannot go. I said, Doctor, you have here people that they all right, but they're between life and death. But anyway, he was very, very nice. He left everybody and he came to see my husband and he came to see the other men. And at that time, he used to go every day and they gave me gelaufen in Skilassen, you know, Village Street Ski. I went, they opened the, you know, the Sekretär, the Ohrenkreuz in the Bahn gerissen, and God helped me that my husband, the other one was sick. And he was in Mount Vernon Hospital. And I went every day to see him and to bring him blood. That time they didn't get blood transfusions. I had a meat in a bottle and bring it there every single day. But thank God he came home. I went through enough that time, I have to tell you. What else should I tell you?
Did you ever ask him why he jumped in?
He went to help the other one. He jumped in to take out the other one from benzene.
But didn't he know he could get hurt himself?
They both, he didn't realize. They both was pronounced dead.
They were that sick.
But
They pulled through.
Thank God they...
For dinner,